Hello my dear friends, basic greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. Just I start my video and I press go live on my computer. Hello my dear friends, basic greetings from Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. My name is Viktor Fursov. I'm a research entomologist. I'm beekeeper and teacher. I'm senior research scientist entomologist at the Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. And this is my live online broadcast this evening time and in English. I am making this broadcast from Kyiv and I'm speaking with you in English just for pleasure and for understanding all around the world, because English is international language, is widely recognized all around the world and all around the YouTube channel, so you can understand me easily if you are somewhere in Singapore, in Australia, in New Zealand, South America, North America, in Africa, or in Eurasia. I didn't miss anything else. But if you do not understand, that's not a problem. Some other people can watch me on YouTube channel or on Facebook on recorded mode of this channel. So that's why I will put this as a recorded video on my channel and people can see it later. Today we will be talking about insects which can live and which can be observed even in winter time. Actually in Europe there's a winter, in North America is a winter. It's pretty cold, it's frost outside. Fortunately just -5 somewhere about this 5 degrees Celsius outside in Kyiv, and despite all this military situation in Ukraine, people are living, people are going to job, and I do it the same, and also some people observing, studying insects. There are entomologists, professional entomologists, and also some amateurs, some people who like animals, who likes insects. If you like insects, you can keep them in laboratory culture, at home culture. And what does it mean? Because in summertime, in spring, summer and autumn time, you can observe insects outside, in a somewhere near in a garden, it's in a park, in a forest, somewhere in a lawn, just somewhere near the stream, in a river. But what you can do in wintertime? Everything is frozen, and majority of insects were just sleeping or were wintering. But you can keep culture of insects at home, and you can observe them and make experiments with insects. Experiments. And actually insects quite easy to keep them in culture at home, and they're usually safe. They do not destroy your clothes, your food, if you select correctly the species of observed insects, and you can keep them in laboratory culture somewhere in a cage, and I will show you some cases. What you can keep in your home? Of course, many people like to keep insects dry, like dead insects, in collection, just observing them, watching on them, surprising. You can show insects for your friends, but they are dead. Sorry about it, they're dead because this is collection. About collection we will be talking a little bit later. This is a gift of my friend from Chernihiv district, near Kyiv. Chernihiv is another city which was under heavy attack of bloody Russians, but still this person also quite interested in insects, in butterflies, in beetles, and in collecting insects. But this is for next presentation. This is just introduction. Or maybe keeping like this. This is also part of his collection. He sent it me as a gift, just to show you on this channel, because it's quite interesting to share knowledge, to share ideas, to share experience with other people online or offline in recording mode. So you can understand dead moth, dead head moth, this one, this big one, with yellow second pair of wings, and just banded yellow bands on the abdomen. And here this is a dead head, scalp. So dead head moth, quite interesting. He was keeping it in a culture at home, breeding it from eggs, caterpillars, and caterpillars pupated, and so he got several pupae, and from pupae emerged these beautiful butterflies. This one and this one too, and this one probably was collected somewhere in a garden or in a forest. So some people can keep culture of caterpillars, but it needs some knowledge, some experience, and it's better to do it in a summertime. Of course, you can keep also silk moth culture if you are living somewhere in a warm area, in tropical region, but still it needs silk moth more preferable for warmer areas like Asia, South Asia, and the silk moth is usually overwintering again in a pupa during the winter time. But in the springtime they can emerge, and so you can keep them adults, they mating, females lay eggs, and you can receive caterpillars. But what about another insects? Some insects quite easy to find and keep them at home. For example, you can buy some beans somewhere, not in a shop, but somewhere in a market, an open market or in a flea market. So these are beans, different colors, but if you are buying them in a flea market, they are not treated with insecticides. They were not fumigated. So sometimes some beetles can live inside. Some beetles, and they are called seed beetles because they live inside seeds, or they are called bean beetles because these are beans. Many of them can be inside just one bean, and if you put them here, or some beans can be infested in a closed jar package, you can receive many bean beetles. In Latin name Acanthoscelides obtectus. This beetle is easy to observe, it's quite funny to observe, and fortunately this beetle does not eat any other food. If you can keep it in room, in house, in the kitchen, only beans. If they escape, females will be searching only for beans in kitchen. But all other food, all other bread will not be touched, will not be infested, will not be destroyed. Only beans. And you can make some different experiments with bean beetles. For example, giving them different sorts of beans, keeping them under the different conditions, warmer temperature, cooler temperature, temperate temperature, put them sometimes in a refrigerator for a short time and observing how long will be developing, will be stopped during the certain period of time, or what is temperature is more preferable for these bean beetles. So bean beetles, Acanthoscelides obtectus, very easy to be observed. But you can find also seed beetles outside, just near your house. If you're going somewhere near your house, in your city or village, sometimes you can find these strange beans. These are strange beans from a tree. Tree is named in Latin Gleditsia. And you can see the sound inside. Seeds which are called beans. This is the same family, Fabaceae. And these beans also can be infested with beetles. And beetles are bigger, and that's why they have a Latin name Megabruchidius. And this species Megabruchidius is originally from Asia, Southeast Asia, from China. and now they are spreading all around the world. And if you can collect these beans in your area, somewhere in countries of Middle Asia, just near Mediterranean Sea, maybe you can collect some beetles and even parasitoids. And these beetles can be as a first record for your country as well. For example, I will not tell you the name of country, but in many countries in the Middle Asia, this species of Gleditsia, similar species, Gleditsia triacanthus, its name in Latin, widely spread, but can be infested with this beetle Megabruchidius. So you can open this box, this bean, take a seed and put them in a jar, in a cage, and check. Maybe some beetles inside. What about beetles? If you can be very careful to watching about on this seed box, seed pod, you can see here some holes, emergence holes. Beetles will emerge through the seed of this pod and will spread in autumn time, actually, of course. In winter time, we are sleeping inside in this pod, inside this seed. And so you can make experiment to check, do exist these Megabruchidius in your city, in your country, in your local area, in your village? Maybe you can find first record for your country just yourself. If you will find it, write in comments. So it will be very interesting to make identification, and maybe nobody have not collected these beetles from these interesting seeds in your country, in your local area, in your region, in your district. So and it can be, will be good finding for publication in scientific literature. Yes, even if you are amateur, you can publish together with scientists like me. I can publish together with you as collector. New finding, new record, all this about this beetle, Megabruchidius, 2 species, different one, from your country. Why not try? So if you did understand me, if you have understand me, collect it in pods and wait for a certain period of time, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and beetles can be hatching, emerging from beans in the cage. What about another insects which you can keep at home and observe for them? Of course, termites will come to some southern areas and their pests. Some ants can come to your house, to your flat, and can be pests if you did not breed them for special purpose in a cage, formicarium. Many people keep ants as pets in formicariums, which are commercially sold in many countries. In Ukraine, there are actually a few companies which are selling alive cultures of not beetles, but bees for sure, for beekeepers, but ants, cultures of ants inside special cages, called formicariums, like aquariums, but they're called formicariums. So you are buying not this size actually, because this size is too big. This is artificial and normal size of ants, and inside special plastic boxes with special streets where ants are living and crawling and making house together. So together with queen, the mother, the queen, which are laying eggs and producing larvae, and adults ants were just feeding larvae and were producing then just pupae, and from pupae some adults of ants catching again workers. So and the colony of ants increasing and growing pretty quickly. Sometimes colony of ants in a formicariums can be pretty large, up to the size of a working table like this. It's up to your conditions of your laboratory, your house, and your interest, how many and how many individuals you can breed. You are allowed to breed in your laboratory or in your house or your room for observations. But how to feed them? To feed them, you need to have either some plant seeds, because some ants are feeding on seeds, and some ants were feeding on animals. Best of them, the cockroaches, grasshoppers, some larvae of beetles. And which kind of beetles? For example, some beetles, the most common beetles, were beetles which can be bred on grains, on cereals, and these beetles belonging to the family Tenebrionidae, and most of them they're called mealworm beetles. You know, I showed you already on my channel big mealworm beetles, super big mealworm, and they are called Zophobasatratus. Zophobasatratus, big beetle, easy to keep them. But this one, you see, very tiny beetles. Very tiny beetles. You cannot recognize, but they are not crawling. They are sitting very quiet. I show on my screen. They are sitting inside the box, inside this jar. It's covered with this. I covered with gauze to avoid moisture, for breathing, because they are alive, they are breathing. You do not need to close it toughly with a plastic lid, just with this gauze, and I put here some cereals, some bread, some cakes, a little bit egg, and even some fresh cakes, even some apples as well, and cereals. So we're producing here eggs, larvae, pupae, and then adults. And adults crawling around. And this species is called Ulomoides dermestoides. Ulomoides dermestoides. And some other species like Tenebrionidae, very convenient for breeding on cereals and on grains, on cutted grain, and on cereals. So we're producing larvae, and larvae can be used for feeding ants, or just for observations, because the colony can be growing pretty fast. The advantage of this species, which is called actually like a beetle heater or witch beetle of a family Tenebrionidae, darkling beetle. Darkling beetle is family Tenebrionidae, but heater beetle because sometimes people use this small, about 5-6 millimeter size beetle for healing some diseases, so that's why it can be considered as a medical beetle. But this is questionable. But for amateurs observations in a cage, they're very convenient because they're not crawling very fast, they're not trying to escape, they're just sitting and eating, and that's very convenient to observe for them. Very easy if you forgot about them. So they still will be eating some food inside the glass jar, because they don't need even some water. Little bit if you put here some carrots or apples, they will eat it and use the water, the moisture. But you don't need to supply some wet material, because wet materials will be rotating and culture can be a little bit destroyed. Maybe some larvae will be dying in this too much wet culture. Food will be destroyed here. So you don't need to put anything else, just dry cereals and this healer beetle, or Latin name Ulomoides dermestoides, easily bred on it in your house. You can put it near the heating place in the winter time. So heated place, warm place. A water heating system, for instance, we're breeding very easily. Sometimes we're trying to dig inside, but we're making aggregations all together, sitting here, for example, on cake, And do not move too much, just 1 millimeter one side, 1 millimeter another side. They are not crawling on the surface. They are not crawling on the surface of glass bottle, so they will not escape from a jar. Very convenient species for observations, because other species of insects much more active, very active. They can escape. That's why you should be very careful, because they can jump, like if you breed some grasshoppers, crickets, they can jump and escape. So some banana crickets, for instance, they're jumping, or banana grasshoppers, they're jumping very quickly, so you must be very careful. But this type of jar you can use for breeding Madagascar cockroach. Some people don't like cockroaches, but Madagascar cockroach, this is usually the pet for kids, for people, and sometimes can be food for some reptiles, for big reptiles, or the food for some small mammals. So you can make some holes on the lid, or at least if cockroach is a big, he or she will not escape, because lid will be just covered here. And here I have a cockroach. Madagascar cockroach is making a noise. Of course, running very fast. I do not like to be shown. Also quite easy to keep it. You can put some dry bread. And cockroach, big one, Madagascar cockroach, can produce a noise. Difficult to keep it in a hand because trying to escape, producing noise, and also has a very spiny legs. I didn't take it, so this cockroach found a very convenient place in a hollow and became hidden somewhere inside. I cannot push him outside, so cannot show you easily, because he's sitting somewhere in the middle. Sitting somewhere in the middle. Hide it from my curiosity. But also quite convenient species for observations, because you can keep it just with little moisture, with little food. You put here this piece of cake, piece of bread. This will be enough for some number of days, like even a couple of weeks, because cockroach will eat this food quite pretty slowly, and also does not require special food like apples or pears or carrots. You can give a little bit, but it's no problem if you do not give them some wet food as well. Will be good enough. But you need to close the box, because this pet crawling very fast and can escape, can squeeze between the lid and the jar. How to find some insects, and you can bring them at home. For example, here I collected some insects. I'm quite sure I opened the lid because they're still inside. Why inside? This is a case how you can collect insects outside in the winter time. For that, you can go to the nearest shrubs and you can collect seeds, or to be precisely, fruits, dry fruits of dog rose. Dog rose, this is wild rose, which are growing everywhere. Near the house, in a city, in a village, near the forest, in the parks, everywhere actually. And these seeds were good food, and good to make a fruits tea from dog rose. But sometimes you can find expanded seeds, like which are named galls. Inside will be larvae and then adults of gall-forming insects. But if you are collecting already dry or nearly dried seeds or fruits. In wintertime with these fruits with seeds inside. You can bring them, put them in a jar, like with a transparent sides, and you can observe what's going on. If you can keep this jar for a certain period before springtime, insects, gall-forming insects, and seed-feeding insects, which are developing inside seeds of rose, will be hatching. So some small chalcid wasps, size about 5-6 millimeters, with long ovipositor like here. This also chalcid wasps, like this chalcid wasp has a long ovipositor. Some others, like this one, Torymidae, this one with long ovipositor, long like a stick on the top of the abdomen, which is used to penetrate fruit and seeds and lay eggs. These very lovely, quite interesting parasitoids, but to be precise, phytophagous insects can be collected inside seeds of wild rose. And also, that's very funny, these species can be new for your region, new for your area, new for your country. Because if you are in distant place in your country, somewhere in Asia, Africa, Australia, South or North America, and you can breed, you can rear these insects from the fruits of dog rose, keep it like that, and then save it in small jars or in glass tubes or in plastic tubes. Dry, you can save them dry, like this. You see, closed by cotton. You can save them inside this. Put label, small piece of paper with written data about plant, about place, time, date, and name of collector, so you can receive scientific material for research. For whom? For research of scientists. But you can share your material with another scientist, like me. So you can send it by post, and I can identify who was living inside seeds of dog rose in your region, in your area, in your country. Maybe it can be new species. Never known new species for science. So you will be discoverer, you will be inventor of new species. I can describe the species and we can publish together in cooperation and collaboration scientific paper. Because world now is global. So that's why science is global. And species are distributed worldwide, but not studied everywhere. Only in some certain well-studied areas. So don't forget, wild dog rose, seeds inside plastic jars. I can tell you about it, methods later, in details, but very simple. Jar, put here many dog rose, close it carefully so insects will not escape. Write the date when you collect it, where you collect it, and this will be label. Piece of information, scientific information, which is important for scientists, for entomologists, for identification, and for understanding trophic relations between insect and plant, and the correlation between different species and different plant species of insect always must be identified correctly. So if you know the species of dog rose, this is very important too, because dog rose, this is a genus Rosa of the family Rosaceae, has many species widely distributed all around the globe. Many species, maybe over 30 species of rose in different areas. So different insects will come, maybe some new species. At the present moment, at the present time, in this year, several species already known, reared from a family Torymidae, like here, like this species. On screen, this is Torymidae family. Torymus fulvus, but another species, Megastimus phytophagous insect living inside seeds and can be collected in your area. So pay attention. And if you want collaboration and cooperation and publishing paper, write me later in comments or try to collect this insect inside seeds if you have some dog rows, shrubs near your house, near your village, near your forest. What's about another insects? Another insects very funny, very simple for keeping at home, for observations and for feeding your ants culture if you have formicarium. These are fruit flies. Yes, very funny fruit flies. Fruit flies of a genus Drosophila. Drosophila flies. Very easy to keep, very funny flies, very small, very annoying. If you are living in somewhere outside, not in a culture, but if you are living in a kitchen. So some housekeepers, wife keeper will be very angry if you will find some fruit flies in the kitchen. But you can keep it carefully in your laboratory or in your studying room. What you should do, put here a little bit fruits, some peaches or some apples, or just cut pieces of apples. They will be infested, for example, outside somewhere. Or it's the same in your kitchen, they can be infested as well, or outside at street. So at the balcony, for instance, and then you can bring infested fruits, put them inside bottle, close it with a cotton. Very important, not close with a cork, with plastic cork, because they will not be breathing. They need some fresh air. So you need to exchange the air. So if you can make some holes with a pin here or around, very tiny holes, so even Drosophila will not escape through the very tiny holes. Again, for exchange of air. This is cork for breathing. And then just you will see how some larvae coming outside from this food substrate and making some pupa, puparium to be precise, pupariums, even on sides of this bottle. I will show it later when we will have more individuals. Even now we have some fruit flies inside, but not so many, not a swarm of fruit flies, and they're yellowish in color, so they're not so black, not so visible. They will be breeding in a mass number on telephone. They're in better view, but on camera they're slightly not so visible because they're very small. So fruit flies, easy to select them from the jar because you can freeze them in refrigerator or partially freeze them in refrigerator, put them in a cold temperature so they will be frozen a little bit, so you can put them away and freeze them in a freezer so they will die. And then you can use adults of the fruit flies for feeding your ants culture. Very safe culture and only a little bit annoying if they escape from the kitchen and will go to the kitchen again back. Because if they escape from a culture, go back to the kitchen searching for some fruits, searching for some apples, and definitely they will find in a garbage bin, in a garbage bag, something like a moisture, and will be flying everywhere around, irritating housekeeper. So this some insects, and finally I can show you even what do you need for that. For this observation you need to have some cages, big one, small one. If you have not found any insects in your house for keeping, I will explain you about another next time, but you can find easily spider. Again, here's one spider, which are not black colored but yellowish color. He is sitting here in the center with very wide legs. And here, Indian mealworm moth crawling around. But this spider is very lazy, cannot hatch this Indian mealworm already for a week. I'm trying to put it in his net. No. This tiny Indian moth, 5 millimeters, crawling and flying around and not coming to this net of this spider. To be sure, about 20 species of different spiders can be inhabitants of house in European area. In Europe, maybe in Australia, 20 more species, but all species living in Europe in domestic conditions were not poisonous, were not venomous. Venomous, this is for stinging, were poisonous, so were not poisonous. But this is brown spot, this is a cockroach. To feed your spider inside your cage, you can keep cage with holes again, with holes, a little bit holes for breathing the spider, or do not push the lid toughly. Put a little bit open lid for breathing. And put here inside, for example, a cockroach. The spider will find cockroach and making a net around, making a cocoon, and then sucking, feeding on cockroach. Will be very happy, spider. And you will be very happy for observing the spider. But this is a small moth, Indian mealworm. This one, which are inhabitant very common in kitchen, and luckily cannot be collected by this spider. Spider, this is another object for observation, easy observation in house. Of course, I do not tell you about spiders about this size, tropical spiders, because I do not have them. And I am talking about spiders which you can easily collect at home, put them in a jar like this, very safe place, and to be sure that in this safe cage you will not collect poisonous spider in Europe, or even in North America as well. In South America maybe, but in North America and in Europe you will not collect poisonous spider at home. In domestic conditions, surviving only not very dangerous spiders. And they can be considered as humans beneficial because they are collecting some domestic insects inside your house. So they are predators. So if you are keeping them somewhere in an angle of your room or in your bathroom sometimes and you do not afraid about them, they will catch some pests which are crawling sometimes or flying inside or just coming from neighbors. Where some cockroaches coming, not living in your kitchen, it doesn't mean nothing, because cockroaches can come to your kitchen from neighbors. And this spider, this is a home wolf, which can catch and kill these cockroaches at your home. So that's why do not crash spider in bathroom, in toilet, in kitchen. Allow them to survive or take them inside cage and throw them away outside of your house if you're afraid of them, or if they disturb you a little bit, if they're irritating you a little bit. So this is a story about some insects, some domestic insects, not domestic but urban insects which are living inside your house, which you can keep easily in a culture. Hopefully in my next videos, in my next streams, I can tell you more about insects which are living in domestic conditions, in house, in your storeroom. And welcome to subscribe to my channel. Welcome to visit Patreon page under the description of this video. And subscribe to my channel. And see you soon on my next videos, on my webinars, in daytime, in daily streams or in weekend streams. You can find links and streams on my channel. Good luck, see you soon on my channel. Bye bye, thank you for attention. Good luck and see you soon on my channel. And broadcast. Good luck, see you soon. Visit my Patreon page for donations. For donations, this can be a good idea. Why not? You are welcome. If you have questions, write questions under this video in comments. Comments always appreciated. Comments, this is a comment between us. This is a conversation. Always pleasant idea to exchange by ideas, to answer for your questions, and your comments are really appreciated. Good luck. See you soon on my channel. Bye bye.